multiple deaths, a scary old Victorian house, small town, witches, and plants. Well, okay, this could almost be a Stephen King book. And maybe if you add in a little bit of Little Shop of Horrors, then you might have Night Strangers by Chris Bohjalian. And it's his first foray into a classic horror story in the Gothic tradition, taking place in New Hampshire. Now, Chip Linton is an experienced pilot who came across the inevitable. 20-some years of service, never had a problem, and taken off in east side of the United States all the time, traveling, you inevitably will come across a flock of birds off your plane. Everyone knows it's possible. Unfortunately, it happened to him. And after it happened, his only choice was to land in a lake. Now, unfortunately for him, he was not the miracle worker, and the landing in the lake didn't go so well, and he lost 39 people. Suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, Chip is no longer able to fly and slips into a deep depression. His wife, Emily, decides the family needs to move from the town, move away from the area, and get away from everything in order to save both herself, her husband, and their 2 twin girls. So they end up finding an old Victorian house in a little town in northern New Hampshire, where they believe they can try to build a whole new life, start over from scratch. Maybe bring Chip out of this depression he's in. What they don't know about the house is that it has a life of its own, a history, a connection that may overtake the family, and where they'll be haunted by those who are alive and those who are dead. Now with this, I would love to talk about the wonders of this ghost story. How I spent every single minute glued to the page and ensconced inside the normally skillfully woven world of Bohjalian. But not this time. I mean, the novel starts off with a detailed and hair-raising opening that will leave you gripped as tight to your seat as the passengers of that airplane as it went down were. The domestic drama with the family, well, it captures your very heart and wrenches it inside of the book, and right there with the Lintons, caring about their marriage and how the twins will survive the falling apart of their father. The narratives of Chip in his second-person voice is an interesting device, especially in dealing with his demons and the ghosts that haunt the house. Well, are they real? We don't know. But then the story falls apart. If Chris had just explored these aspects and moved further inside the family mind and plot, then he would have a brilliant, gothic, classic New Hampshire ghost story with family issues and a psychological thriller on the side. Instead, he adds a second plot of the herbalists of the town and their fascination with his family and especially his twin daughters. This leads down a road that makes the character of Emily seem like the most brainless character in literature history, and treats the reader like they're an idiot and going to overlook all the plot holes that this leads to. Since this is very different from his normal writing, I will just assume that this is a rookie mistake in trying his very first ghost story. But it also keeps me from making this one of the best novels I have read this year, as it started out to be. Add on a very disappointing ending, and I would say, yes, at least read it for part of the plot. And because Chris Bohjalian is a great writer. But don't get out of your way to get a hold of the Night Strangers.